anyone anonymously can just say anything they want about you. And the one thing you need to remember, I'm telling this myself right now, is that it isn't personal. It's not about you. Anything someone else says about you is much more a reflection of what they think about themselves. The other day, someone asked me if I could recommend just one book to somebody, which book would it be? And well, so first we needed to clarify what kind of book. Was it non-fiction or fiction, or what was I hoping to give to that person? We agreed on a book that would really help the other person. And there's quite a lot of books that have helped me in my life at a time when I most needed them. You know what I mean? But there's one book that came to mind instantly. That was my first instinct, was that book, because it's a book that I come back to. I reread this book every year, and I would also say that this book has entered into my daily conversations with people. So I always try to practice what I've learned in that book. And so the book is The 4 Agreements by Miguel Ruiz. I hope I'm saying that right. And so he's a South American author, and the book is based on the ancient Toltec wisdom. And the 4 agreements are four principles to live a life without suffering and to live a life of freedom. And I highly recommend you read this book, but for the sake of this video today, I would like to tell you how this book has helped me and my own interpretation of the 4 agreements. And so I guess we should start by naming the 4 agreements. And I always forget one, but I'm going to try my best. which is one of the 4 agreements. So it is always try your best, be impeccable with your word, make no assumptions, and don't take anything personally. And so let's go in depth into these 4 agreements for a moment. So the first one, always do your best. I actually don't think in the book it's in that order, but that's how I named them now. So the first one is always do your best. And that means that you practice being kind to yourself, or at least that's what it means to me. So I think in this hustle culture, we are very used to go faster and go harder, and also be very hard on ourselves. And for me, it has become very important to acknowledge someday my best is 70% and not 100%. Some days my best is going to be maybe just 30%. And some days it might even be lower than that, and I just need to rest and take a break. And that is very hard for me to do, and I think for a lot of people this is hard to do, because that's not how we're raised. And the whole idea of the 4 agreements came to the author because he noticed that as human beings, we are born into this society and we are molded and shaped so that we comply with whatever society wants from us. He calls it domestication. So we are domesticated animals who, from a very early age, learn all these rules in order to make it through the day and in order to not stand out from the crowd and be accepted in this group, in our community. But it's exactly those rules that we are taught by our education system, by our parents, and not just, our parents don't even mean any harm by doing this. It's what they have been taught as well. So we're just deep in this system. But there's a lot of rules that actually don't agree with who we are as beings, and it doesn't serve our highest best interest to follow these rules. And so to me, always trying to achieve more and more and trying to force myself to be harder, to be better, to work harder, is one of those rules that if I had chosen this, if it had been up to me, I probably wouldn't have chosen this. And so the first rule, the first agreement, always do your best, is becoming more and more important to me as I get older. I think it's also, as women, we go through our menstrual cycle, and that means that we have 4 different phases every month that we go through, and throughout those phases we have different energy levels available to us. And I think that is something that more and more women are discovering, to take that time and to acknowledge that not every day, not every week, and not every month, and maybe not even every year, we bring the same high energy to the table. So that is the first agreement, always do your best. The second agreement is to be impeccable with your word. And you will see that these 4 agreements all kind of tie into one another. And so be impeccable with your word means that you only speak the truth. Also that you only say what's necessary. For example, it's you don't speak ill of other people, you don't gossip. It also means that you do what you said you were going to do. So you're being accountable for what you're saying. And most importantly, it also means how you talk to yourself. Your own self-talk that is going on in your head all the time. You know, words have a lot of power, and being impeccable with your word means that you keep yourself accountable of the words that you're using every single day. Especially the spoken word has a lot of power, but also the thoughts that are going on in your head. So you should always try to be kind to yourself and really catch yourself when you say something bad about yourself or think something bad about yourself. So that's the second agreement, be impeccable with your word. The third agreement is don't take anything personally. And this is something that I struggle with a lot, and that is also one of the reasons why I decided to do this imposter syndrome challenge, or this challenge of learning to speak my truth and to be brave and put myself out there as a storyteller, as creator. Because I do take things personally that other people say about me. And I think a lot of people, most of us probably do. We care, and I think it's only human to care. To be accepted by the community, by the group, means safety. That we are wired wanting to be liked because it offers safety. And back in the day when we were still cavemen, it offered us survival. So I think I know this is entirely natural and normal, but that doesn't make it any easier. And I think especially in this day and age on the internet, it has become so opinionated and loud and crowded, and anonymously can just say anything they want about you. And the one thing you need to remember, I'm telling this myself right now, is that it isn't personal. It's not about you. Anything someone else says about you is much more a reflection of what they think about themselves, what's going on in their own lives, especially if it is some random stranger on the internet who has only had a glimpse of your life, maybe through a video, or maybe even less than that, maybe just a photo, maybe just an Instagram caption or whatever. But even people who are in your life and are close to you, whatever it is they are doing has everything to do with them and very little to do with you. And I find a lot of grace in that, and I also find a lot of freedom and hope in that and calm in that, because it's not about me. And everyone out there spends 99% of their time thinking about themselves, what's going on in their lives, the issues they are facing, the fears that they have. And if there is someone saying something nasty about you, first of all, it is fleeting. And second of all, it is not about you. So that's what it means. That's what it means to take nothing personally, to save yourself that struggle and save yourself that pain. And then the fourth one is, that is the one that I use most in my everyday life, and I think it is the most life-changing, and I think it is the one that made me want to recommend this book, because there was a switch that was flipped when I understood this fourth one, and that is make no assumptions. And what that means is that whoever you're dealing with, based on the way they speak or the way they look or the way that you might have interacted with them before, it's very human and it's very practiced. Again, it's this practice. It's this what we've been taught, what we've been conditioned to do. Is in order to survive, we learn to read behavior and certain reactions, and we make assumptions about these reactions and about this behavior, about someone, how someone looks at us, or what someone says, or the kind of words that they're using. But as soon as we make an assumption, we kind of live only in our own truth, in our own head, and we're not meeting the other person on a level playing field. And so this is important when you meet a stranger, but I think the most suffering from assumptions comes from when it's happening in your close relationships. You know, when your partner just has been reacting in a certain way over and over and over again, and you have come to interpret from your own experience that that means this or that, or the way they sigh, or the way they might look at you, or the way they use a certain word. And it doesn't always mean, in most cases, it might not mean what you think it means. And so the best thing you can do is to ask questions, because you don't know what is going on in the other person's head. And that is where I think I see a lot of suffering comes from, when people don't give the other person the benefit of the doubt. You know what I mean? You don't meet the person, you think you know that person, and you think you know exactly what's going on in their heads. And so often that leads to situations where the other person will say, well, that's not what I was thinking at all. And that is where most of the suffering, I think, comes from in relationships. And so that's why I think this book is so full of wisdom and so full of realizations and freedom to be found. And yeah, I just really wish that everyone in the world would read this book. Thankfully, it is an international bestseller, and a lot of people are reading it. And yeah, my short introduction to this book really doesn't do it justice. I think it's one of those books. I have the audiobook, and my husband and I will listen to it on like long road trips at least once a year, because it's good to get a refresher on these types of books every once in a while. So yeah, that's the one book that I would recommend you read. And I see you back here tomorrow with the next topic. even if you don't know what to do in your life, there are things, I know this with 100% certainty, there are things that you love, there are things that you enjoy, there are things that you can't stop thinking about, things that you naturally gravitate towards. And there's this famous saying that goes something like, that dream was planted in your heart for a reason.